Hey, it's Naftali Visser. How are you? I recently wrote this book called Humans Working, and it's about humans at work. And basically, it describes how we can create prosperous cultures in companies. Cultures that promote loyalty and friendship and productivity and innovation and all these sorts of things that we crave as we develop a business. Now, the way that this book talks about those things is by describing how humans work, right? So we describe a better working environment for humans by describing how humans operate, the universal understanding, the universal principles behind the human operating system, if you will, all right? So today's the first installment, and I'm just going to start with Chapter 1, Section 1, and going to do a new installment every day, and we'll go from there. All right. So the first section is called "How I Got Here." So about a long time ago, when I was about 23 years old, I had graduated with a computer science degree, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. In 1993. I was hired part-time while I was still in school, actually, by a company called the Internet Company. Now, the Internet Company was the very first internet consulting company, the first company to build websites, to do sort of email marketing, anything like that. So it was like they started around 91, 92. Now, I got to work on one of the very first .com websites. It was the third .com website in existence. It was called enews.com. Got to work on some pretty fun, interesting things, as you can imagine. From there, went to work for a couple really large advertising agencies, and there got to work on the very first websites for, I'm not going to drop names, but some extremely huge brands that you've all heard of. And that was super cool too. Got to learn a bunch of new technology, got to be on the leading edge of things, got to work on these amazing, huge brands. And it was super cool, except that the way that these companies sort of treated people just didn't work for me, right? Like the idea that you could work till 3 a.m. and then come in at 9:30 and they'd look at their watch and be like, "You're late," right? So, and that happened repeatedly. So that didn't really work for me. So I went on my own. I was maybe about 25 at the time, and I decided that I wanted to start a company, and I was a programmer and I knew some other programmers, so that I figured we'd do some programming. It was in the really early days of the internet. So, there weren't software packages that you could buy to build an e-commerce site. There weren't software packages you could buy to build a, community site or content management. None of that stuff existed. If you wanted to build something, you built it one line of code at a time. And that was pretty cool. But the real reason I wanted to start a company was just to have a cool place that people liked coming, right? Just to have a place that was like a clubhouse environment, if you will. And I figured if we did that, we'd get some cool projects, we'd make some money, we'd have fun, work wouldn't feel like work, and So for about 4 years, that's what happened. We started, me and a buddy of mine, in my apartment, little 2-bedroom apartment. We worked in one of the bedrooms. And we kind of got busier and busier over time, and what happened? We grew to 6 people. Where? In my living room, right? Changed one of the bedrooms into the living room, and now the living room became the office. So 6 people came to my house every day. We worked in the living room, sharing a 56K DSL line, right? So, basically, it was quicker to fax things than use the internet. And then after about 2.5 years, we got a nice office downtown and big loft kind of space. We were doing pretty well. And then all of a sudden, tragedy. Woohoo! Tragedy hit. We'd done a ton of work for this customer, and they were supposed to pay us, of course, but they didn't. They didn't pay us half of what they owed us, and that's because they hadn't gotten a second round of funding, and that's where the money was supposed to come from. So not our problem, but still we weren't getting the money, and there wasn't a whole lot we could do about it because they were basically going out of business. So that was kind of a bummer, but I'm really idealistic. I'm really optimistic. I didn't even tell my team about it, right? I was like, all right, whatever, we'll recover, right? That's gonna like make a dent, but nobody needs to know, we'll be fine. But within a couple weeks of that happening, the economy started to tailspin, and you just can't recover from both of those things, right? All of our clients, all of our other clients, right? We kind of had this one big client and then like 5 or 6 other smaller clients. They all just kind of called us and said like, we don't really know what's going on, so we're gonna kind of, stop giving you work. So basically, what was like, I don't know, $10,000 or $15,000 a month from several clients went down to like $2,000 a month just for maintenance or something like that. We couldn't recover from both of these things. We had no income coming in. Somebody owed us a ton of money, took a big hit on the bank account. The economy was really, sucking wind, so we couldn't even, going out and looking for more work was going to be tricky. So I sat my team down. 10 guys I had at the time. Sat them around our big conference table. I said, sorry, game over. I was heartbroken. I had tears in my eyes. We were a family. We were a pretty tight-knit group of folks. Everybody had come to work there because it was fun, because they liked me and the other people that worked there. So I said, go home. It's like time to go. You're not getting your paycheck. Your health insurance is canceled. Game over. And then something kind of miraculous happened. This guy, he was sitting on the end of the table, I remember. And he had kind of a reputation for being a wise ass. He says, I'll stay. And I didn't know if he was being a wise ass or if he was being nice or serious. So I said, thanks, but whatever. Not even an option. Guy sitting next to him says, yeah, me too. I'll stay. Next guy says, you'll come up with something, you always do. 4, 5, 6, 10 guys said, we're not going anywhere. And this was a long time ago now. I don't even know how many years. And as I tell this story right now, I'm getting a little choked up. 10 guys agreed to just not leave. We didn't come up with a plan. We didn't come up with a partial salary. We didn't come up with what are we going to do? They just said, we're not going anywhere. And I said, all right, guys, thanks, but I think you're all just kind of caught up in the adrenaline of the moment. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Next day, they came. Every single one of them on time. And for 2 months, they all came. I don't really know what they did for 2 months. But I know that as a group, we sent out a ton of proposals, and we were able to get our biggest contract ever in the history of the company by probably double. And because of that, we were able to sell the company. There was a company that had been interested in us, but they probably wouldn't have been interested in a bankrupt company. So we got this big contract, we made a deal with the new company, and the only thing that I wanted to happen with this acquisition, merger, whatever you want to call it, was that the entire team had to come over as a group, right? They wanted to pick the best people, and that wasn't going to happen. And everybody had to get a raise, which was kind of crazy because the economy was in a tailspin. People were getting laid off left and right. But this was really important. So we all went over there, and it wasn't the greatest of companies. It wasn't a fun place like ours was, but it was a company and everybody had a job and we got to stay together, and we're all still pretty close because of that experience. So why do I tell you this story? Well, the name of this section in the book is How I Got Here, right? So since then, it's just been a burning desire of mine to help companies understand what it is that creates these kind of environments that breed such loyalty. And even if you don't have a tragedy, a disaster, whatever you want to call it, that while you're working, people are engaged, people want to be there, people stick up for you, people do the right thing, right? This is super important. This is what makes or breaks companies, especially in this economy of knowledge, right? That's all we have. We don't have machinery in most cases, right? Most companies don't have sort of processes that they depend on, right? Like real kind of manufacturing type processes. Most companies nowadays are a bunch of people in a room trying to figure stuff out. That's really the essence of it, right? So that's what this book is about. It's about how do we create those sorts of rich cultures. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. So I'll see you tomorrow in the next section.